Prohibiting criticism of fermented herring, banning healthiness, prohibiting inviting guests for meals, and always maintaining silence. Those who come to Sweden are completely shocked by these unimaginable rules. Blessed with breathtaking natural landscapes, Sweden has always been an ideal destination for many. But did you know that this country also harbors plenty of absurdities that the outside world truly finds hard to believe? The 15 prohibitions and peculiarities in Sweden that I'm about to mention below are sure to take you from one surprise to another. Don't take your eyes off the screen. Number 15, Silence Law. Swedes are often misunderstood as dull or aloof due to their reserved nature, but being laconic is a common trait and considered a standard among the people here. Idle chatter about trivial topics is deemed pointless by Swedes, who have a long-standing proverb, "Speech is silver, silence is golden." Therefore, they often opt for silence as a solution to avoid unnecessary conflicts in communication. They always address issues directly, avoiding beating around the bush. Swedes believe that the noble speak slowly, don't readily show attitudes, refrain from quick conclusions, and exercise caution from words to deeds. This prevents their society from spreading sensational information, maintaining tranquility and harmony. Number 14, Sole Liquor Vendor. You can buy beer anywhere, but if you want to enjoy a glass of wine in Sweden, you can only visit the exclusive Systembolaget liquor stores. In Sweden, local shops and bars are not allowed to sell strong alcohol. However, to cater to domestic alcohol consumption, the Swedish government established the Systembolaget store chain in 1955 as the sole retail seller of alcohol. This is the only place where you can purchase wine, spirits, or beer with over 3.5% alcohol content. Particularly, only individuals over 20 years old are allowed to purchase strong alcohol. Most towns have one or a few Systembolaget stores, but finding them is not always easy. Typically, Systembolaget is open from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. from Monday to Friday, and from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. on Saturdays. Besides punctuality, you also need to carry valid identification to purchase alcohol. Number 13. Dressing alike. If you see Swedes dressed alike on the street, don't assume they belong to the same group. Most likely they are strangers but share a similar fashion taste. Swedes usually dress in a simple, comfortable, and unpretentious manner in their daily lives. While known for having a fashion sense, they are also known for dressing alike. Neutral tones like black, cream, beige, white, and navy blue are highly favored in Sweden. Swedes can comfortably wear jeans to work except for important meetings with foreign clients or events. Most civil servants, including university lecturers and office workers, do not require uniforms or formality. There's an irony that in developed, poorer countries, people tend to dress elegantly and meticulously. Of course, dressing neatly and nicely is commendable, but if we invest too much effort, money, and time into dressing just because of the fear of being judged by others, it becomes a burden and turns us into slaves to clothing. Swedish people wear what they feel most comfortable and respectful in, rather than dressing to show off to others or to be judged for their dignity. Also, in Sweden, they will never be snickering behind someone's back or mocking someone just because of the clothes they are wearing. Number 12. Street dancing ban. Oh, you might have just stepped out from a bar or a party, but as soon as you hit the streets, you must immediately halt your dancing. Don't stroll and groove, because in Sweden even that could get you arrested. It sounds insane, but this country has indeed prohibited dancing on the streets since the 1930s under Sweden's public order laws. To dance, you need mandatory permits for dance activities or else you'll face penalties. According to the Swedish government, such regulations are a way to prevent public disorder. Even without government laws, Swedes themselves are not fond of this dancing activity. They are extremely sensitive. In fact, they won't stand too close to the cashier counter in a store. They'll also sit next to someone on a bus if there's an open seat elsewhere. In essence, they create a personal space corridor when out on the streets, and you need to respect their culture and rules when visiting here. Number 11. Never invited for dinner. All first-time visitors to Sweden feel utterly perplexed because, while Swedes are very fond of them, none of the locals ever invite them over for a meal, even if they arrive during mealtime. In Sweden, hosts don't have the habit of inviting strangers for dinner and consider it normal for guests to watch them eat. In the evening, a Swedish family gathers around the dining table. They dine on meatballs with mashed potatoes and gravy while a child sits playing, not eating because no one invited them. That child is the friend of the homeowner's child who happened to visit during dinner. This is entirely normal in Sweden. People don't have the custom of inviting their children's friends for dinner if they come to play. Instead, when it's mealtime, the child can go home, stay in their friend's room, or sit at the table with the family and not eat. Many express shock upon learning about the culture of not inviting guests over for dinner. Locals quickly speak up to defend their country's customs. They explain that this is a widespread reality, and the reason is that they don't expect guests to come and dine with the family. We just make enough to feed the family, and others share well. The reason may sound quite reasonable, but not inviting someone for a meal doesn't seem like it would have a significant financial impact on a family throughout the year. Number 10. Peculiar wedding customs. If you happen to attend a Swedish wedding, don't be surprised to see all the guests lining up to kiss the bride or groom. At Swedish weddings, guests may have the opportunity to kiss the bride or groom. If the bride goes to the restroom, all the women at the wedding will line up to kiss the groom. If the groom leaves the room and is out of sight, men will line up to smell the bride. Swedes also have customs related to coins. Additionally, the bride's father will place a silver coin in the bride's left shoe, while the mother of the bride will place a gold coin in the right shoe. This custom seems quite similar to weddings in Mexico, where the groom gifts the bride with 13 coins, symbolizing Jesus Christ and the 12 apostles. The coins have been blessed by the priest and carry the groom's promise to care for the bride throughout their lives. However, in Spain, it is considered that the groom giving the bride 13 coins symbolizes material and spiritual wealth that the husband brings to the wife every month, and the third coin is to be shared with the poor. Number 9. Prohibition on boasting wealth. You can flaunt your success and wealth anywhere, but don't do it in Sweden. The Jante rule has long existed. It can be understood as no boasting, deeply ingraining a sense of aversion in the country's people towards talking about their success and wealth. It originates from a satirical novel from Denmark written around the 1930s, depicting life in a fictional town called Jante. The laws of Jante include, you're not to think you are anything special, you're not to think you are as good as we are, you're not to think you are smarter than we are, you're not to imagine yourself better than we are, you're not to think you know more than we do, you're not to think you are more important than we are, you're not to think you are good at anything, you're not to laugh at the others. There are various interpretations of Jante's law, but generally, the above laws are not aimed at making anyone feel worthless in society. People still work, shop, dine out, or go on vacations happily as usual. The essential thing the Nordic people believe in is not to boast about your wealth or education, and not to try to demonstrate your superiority over anyone else. Number 9. Prohibition on boasting wealth. You can flaunt your success and wealth anywhere, but don't do it in Sweden. The Jante rule has long existed. It can be understood as no boasting, deeply ingraining a sense of aversion in the country's people towards talking about their success and wealth. It originates from a satirical novel from Denmark, written around the 1930s, depicting life in a fictional town called Jante. The laws of Jante include, you're not to think you are anything special, you're not to think you are as good as we are, you're not to think you are smarter than we are, you're not to imagine yourself better than we are, you're not to think you know more than we do. You're not to think you are more important than we are. You're not to think you are good at anything. You're not to laugh at the others. There are various interpretations of Jante's law, but generally, the above laws are not aimed at making anyone feel worthless in society. People still work, shop, dine out, or go on vacations happily as usual. The essential thing the Nordic people believe in is not to boast about your wealth or education, and not to try to demonstrate your superiority over anyone else. Number 8. Banning criticism of surströmming. There's a dish that, no matter how terrible you find it, you should never open your mouth to criticize in Sweden, and that's fermented herring. Fermented herring is a popular and much-loved dish among the Swedish people, often served at festivals. Here, fermented herring comes in various flavors and is usually eaten with bread or potatoes, sour cream, and chives. Additionally, pickled herring or smoked salmon are also quite popular. Typically, Swedes have very particular eating habits that often ferment fish in cans. When you open the can and can smell a strange odor, it means this dish suits your taste. The strange odor here is not the aroma from spices blending with the fishy smell, but precisely the foul smell of decaying fish. But as I mentioned, it's a dish that the Swedes adore, so refrain from opening your mouth to criticize it to avoid receiving angry glances from the locals. Number 7. Fika coffee culture. Alright, maybe you can't stomach that horrifying smelling fish, but Swedish coffee you might want to try at least once. According to many tourists who've enjoyed the coffee culture here, fika is something very Swedish. it's not as rushed as the American-style grab-and-go, nor as elaborate and time-consuming as Japanese tea ceremonies. To put it accurately, fika is a harmonious blend, an amalgamation of the two cultures of drink enjoyment. Fika can be seen as a noun or a verb, meaning coffee time or pause, and if you enjoy sipping coffee with a sweet pastry with friends or family, you'll appreciate the meaning of fika. Travelers can easily find an excellent fika coffee shop when visiting Sweden. If you happen to be in northwestern Skåne, you should visit Flicka Loren, opened by two sisters in 1938. Flicka Loren is a charming garden with enticing pastries, known not only for fika but also for attracting tourists with its peaceful and rustic atmosphere. Don't forget to try it before leaving this beautiful country. Number 6. Kingdom of Glass. It's highly likely that the beautiful glass vase in your living room was produced in Sweden because this country is always dubbed the Kingdom of Glass. If you want to learn more about Swedish glass, head to the village of Småland in southern Sweden. That's home to 13 glassworks including famous brands like Kosta Boda and Orifors. Here you can witness artisans transforming molten glass into unique pieces of art. You can also try blowing, painting or crafting glass items to create souvenirs to take home. Most workshops sell their products at factory prices. Thus you can easily pick up a few items at an affordable price. Number 5. Pride in unique words. Sweden has many words that are untranslatable and not found in any dictionary, truly challenging for bookworms, even with a vast knowledge of local cultural nuances. For example, fika means a light meal consisting of coffee and pastry. Lagom means just the right amount in Swedish. There are no equivalents to these two words, nor are there any official translations or definitions in any dictionary. Swedes love using such words, and you can easily see their warm eyes when explaining them to foreigners. The Swedish untranslatable words are plentiful indeed. Additionally, Swedes also enjoy using English when conversing with foreigners. Even if you're perfect in Swedish grammar and vocabulary, as soon as they hear a different accent, you'll receive an answer in English from Swedes. An expert suggests that it would be rude to try to respond in Swedish with English. He isn't sure about this, but asserts that it's a peculiar habit. Perhaps it helps the conversation flow more smoothly. Number 4. Sun in the night. You might have witnessed many sunrises or sunsets, but in Sweden you'll see something incredibly strange, seeing the sun at night. Due to its geographical location near the Arctic Circle, Sweden has cold and prolonged winters. Even in the capital Stockholm or even in the far south, in the middle of winter in some areas far north of the Arctic Circle, people see little sunlight. In the capital, Stockholm, snowfall still occurs even in late April. However, in summer, sunlight shines brightly for most of the day. Although the weather remains chilly, the sun usually rises early in the morning and sets late at night in Stockholm. In summer, when the weather is good, the sun often doesn't set until 9 or 10 p.m. Even at the Riksgränsen ski resort in the far north of Sweden, the sun shines both day and night for 56 consecutive days in summer, from May 25th to July 19th. People in any country always desire to live in equality, and Sweden is a nation characterized by that culture. From birth, Swedes believe that all relationships from family to society should be equal. People live together with respect and equality, loving each other without relying on any power. One of the things that makes Swedish culture unique is gender equality. Sweden is a country that promulgates inheritance laws with women and respects women early on, condemning acts of violence against women within families. Moreover, the LGBT community in this country also enjoys a very comfortable and equal life, because Sweden is considered one of the most advanced and accepting countries for the LGBT community. The rights and freedoms of LGBT people are protected by laws and equal policies in Sweden. Swedish society tends to be open and accepting of diversity. Major cities like Stockholm and Gothenburg are often seen as very welcoming and supportive places for the LGBT community. Therefore, it is an ideal tourist destination for LGBT people worldwide. Just like many other civilized countries in the world, in Sweden, you can easily spot long lines of people queuing along food stores, ticket counters, entertainment areas, supermarkets, bus stops, subway stations, and so on. Therefore, when you come here, if you push or shove, you will receive unfriendly looks from the locals. Queuing culture is an expression of a fair and civilized society. When you queue, you are respecting your own rights and those of others. When everyone follows an order, everything becomes easier, faster, and more convenient for everyone involved. If we arrive first, we are served first. If we arrive later, we will be served later. That's obvious. Any pushing or going through back doors is just for one's own benefit, without thinking about others' interests, and that is an expression of selfishness and greed. Similar to the laws of modesty or economy of words, the lagom spirit is truly something wonderful that only Sweden possesses. Lagom, the Swedish philosophy of living just right, is known as a lifestyle that emphasizes quality over quantity, always knowing just enough to take time to enjoy every moment. To overcome the hustle and bustle of modern life, people are turning to lighter, happier thoughts and lifestyle styles. That's why lately, the lagom lifestyle has stepped out of Sweden's borders and become increasingly popular in many societies around the world. People pass on stories from Viking times to explain the phrase lagom. In those days, Viking warriors would often sit around a fire and pass around a horn filled with alcohol, and they had to maintain their dignity by drinking just the right amount of alcohol so that the horn could be passed on longer and everyone could have a share. The phrase lagom was born to refer to this just enough, gradually condensed into, but still retaining the same meaning. Americans and Europeans once judged Sweden's lagom as a barrier that separates this country from the modern world, as these countries pursue consumerism and demand to achieve economic growth. But as material excess, entertainment and mental stimulation have gradually reached extremes, making people tired and directionless, they begin to seek out more authentic and long-lasting values. The lagom spirit is manifested in every aspect of Swedish life, from speaking briefly enough without exaggeration, living in simple minimalist homes, eating simple foods, and even enjoying entertainment without being too loud or noisy. Swedes exercise moderation in everything they do, or you could say they hold the secret to life.